Hello, everybody. Shannon Seal. I'm back at it again. Heading into week 10. We're heading into the final stretch of the season. And a porous 4-4 start for the Florida Gators is what we're looking at it. A team that's completely out of it at this point of the season. And we'll see where they go from here. And if the Gators can actually finish strong in 4 winnable games on the stretch. Guys, don't forget, if you like my channel and if you like what I have to say, feel free to show me some support and like and subscribe to my channel. I'm coming at you every week, college football analyst and expert, and I'll give you my thoughts, what's going on around the sport. And obviously a rabid Gator fan as well. My team is not performing this year on the field very much. Looking at last week, has the sky falling in Gainesville? It definitely appears that that's the case. Dan Mullen went with Anthony Richardson at quarterback last week as expected. And it seemed that he didn't really open up the playbook a whole lot for the youngster. There were definitely growing pains, as expected, with the 3 crucial, costly turnovers right before halftime that essentially, eliminated the Gators from contention in this game. Terrific defense. Georgia has a fine team. But let's face it, Florida beat them last year, as Dan Mullen alluded to in his post-game presser. Not making excuses, but it's not like Florida is this far removed from Georgia, as the 27-point defeat shows, as the Gators did beat them last year. But, this is Dan Mullen's team now. This is his players. This is his quarterbacks. If you think about it, before you had Kyle Trask, you had Felipe Franks, both Jim McElwain recruits. And, and looking at the receivers too, I know Dan Mullen did recruit Pitts and he brought Trevon Grimes in, but overall, these are his guys now, and it's time for him to show what he can do as a coach with his own recruits. I'm not going to say anything about the quarterbacks he's recruited, but the pocket passing quarterback seems to work at Florida. You look at Franks, not great, obviously, with what you have with Franks, but at least he could deliver the ball much better than these guys can now, although there were some turnovers with him. You look at Kyle Trask, and absolutely immaculate passer, threw the ball exactly where it needed to be. And that's what Florida needed, and it looks like they still need, as I guess any team would. But an absolute beatdown. The turnovers were the story. Looking at Florida, has turned the ball over 9 times in the last 3 games. The 2 against Vanderbilt didn't cost them, but the 7 against LSU and Georgia absolutely did. And this is a team that appears broken, and I look at it, Florida all around, and there's some issues up front, but mostly this team is just, turns the ball over too much. They're just a turnover-prone team, and that ultimately, to me, is the difference between this team being maybe a 2-loss team right now, is the turnovers. And still in contention. So, from a talent perspective, I don't so much knock Florida. From a talent perspective, I think Florida's definitely, still has good players. There's certain holes that they need to fill, like getting bigger and bulkier and stopping the run and learning how to tackle and things like that. But from an athletic perspective, I like where Florida's at. I just think that it comes down to quarterbacks that don't turn the ball over and make the right play every time. And Dan Mullen of all should be able to find that, whether it's, an incoming freshman coming in, or maybe Richardson will be the guy eventually. But, he's definitely not the guy right now that can run this offense. And Emory Jones has clearly shown that he isn't either. So I think that's the biggest issue going forward, is can Florida address their quarterback concerns? And maybe try to get some youngsters into the game late in the season. These are 4 winnable games coming up, starting this week against South Carolina. South Carolina, it struggles to stop the run, and they actually have good running backs led by Zacondre White. But the thing about South Carolina is they haven't been able to run the ball all year. They haven't really been able to get anything going on the ground. And I think that is a situation that Florida can't sleep on, because look at LSU. Could not do anything, could not move the ball with the run, and they gave it to Davis Price, and he goes for 300 yards. So this could be the week that South Carolina gets going. It's all going to depend on Florida's effort and ability to focus in on, being a 4-loss team, and the defense's ability to say, okay, our offense turns the ball over a lot, but can we bounce back and make plays? Can we step up and get some ourselves? Last week, Florida got 2 turnovers, could not capitalize. So turn the ball over twice as much as Georgia. You cannot do that. And against South Carolina, a game that Florida clearly should win and probably will win. But if Florida starts turning the ball over, this could get interesting real fast. And as far as Dan Mullen and all the talk about him losing his job, to me, you got to give the guy one more year. I think he has until next November though to turn this around, because this, quite frankly, some of this is unacceptable. And losing to Georgia by that score is unacceptable too. You got to perform better in a situation like that when you're with a week off. No game plan essentially coming in, not riding the backs enough. Not giving them enough touches. If you're not going to run the backs, then try Lorenzo Lingard, and try, Bowman, the guy from Clemson. Find somebody that you rely on and you go to, because right now this offense looks lost out there, to me. So, I will say that Florida steps up and wins this week 31-19. I'm not saying it's going to be pretty, and, but a game that Florida probably should win worse than that, but with where this team is right now, I think that's a pretty fair score. I'll take the Gators 31-19 against South Carolina. And again, these next 4 games should be wins for Florida. And if one of them aren't, then we might want to reevaluate Dan Mullen's position. But right now, I think that Florida should win their next 4 and go to a decent, not what we want bowl game, but a decent bowl game. And I think that a winning record from here on out, or not a winning record, but a win out from here on out, of 5 straight wins, including the bowl game, is what Dan Mullen needs to give this program some momentum heading into a long, tumultuous offseason. So, as for my top 25, I'll go Georgia, obviously, at the top. I'm a little bit different than the playoff committee. I do like Bama at number 2. I've been saying that. I'm actually going to put Michigan State after the monster comeback win against Michigan at number 3. I think now that they're an undefeated team, they beat somebody. They come from behind to do it. A very impressive win. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I do have the Spartans at number 3 right now. A very high ranking, deserving ranking. I will go Cincinnati at number 4. To me, they've done what they needed to do on the field. I know that they kind of, moderately struggled the last 2 weeks. I'm not going to put too much stock into that, but look, they are a team to me that's on this way, that's on their way down. And some other teams are on the way up. So we'll see how that goes over the next several weeks. Oklahoma at number 5, also another team that's on their way down, but looked, I guess impressive last week with their new quarterback. And I'll put the Sooners at number 5. Again, the undefeated record to me means a lot right now. We'll see what they do down the stretch. They have 3 tough games to go. So if they can win out, they definitely are in the discussion for the playoff. And Oregon at number 6. I always credit a big win over a bad loss. To me, a bad loss is never good, and they have the bad loss against Stanford, but the big win against Ohio State, who I have at number 7, you can't understate that. Ohio State, as I said, at number 7, a team that didn't look terrific last week against Penn State, but they got the job done at home. And again, some tough games, some tricky games against Michigan State and Michigan down the stretch, and they have a somewhat difficult game against a team that's fighting to be bowl eligible in Nebraska this week. So a little interesting, but I do think the Buckeyes will get it done. Oklahoma State, 1-loss team, coming in at number 8. To me, that right now they're in a pretty good position, and they have to beat Oklahoma later in the year. And if they can do that as a 1-loss team, I like their chances to get in. Number 9, I got Michigan. A good loss against Michigan State, I guess, if you want to call it that. Now, they've got to continue winning from there. But to me, Michigan impressed me a little bit too. The way they were able to pull away, and yet they did fold under pressure and lost the game. But I didn't drop them too much. I have them at number 9. That's kind of by virtue of teams behind them, a lot of 2 losses and things like that. So I'll put the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at number 10. So to me, that Cincinnati sitting at number 4 is kind of due to that. A tough road win up for them. They did what you asked them to do, and all they can do is play the games that are on the schedule. So, I'll go with Michigan at 10. My honorable mention, my 11 through 15. I got teams like Minnesota in there, and obviously Auburn and Texas A&M who play this week. So we'll find out. And Baylor as well. That's kind of where my top teams are right now. And a lot of two-loss teams. I have Mississippi State coming in the poll now at number 18. I think they're going to fall to Arkansas this week, though, and change that up a little bit. And I dropped Kentucky all the way down to 21 after their loss. Moved Wisconsin in at 23. So that's kind of where we are right now. I have a couple of 3-loss teams in my top 25. Mostly, besides that, I have Wake Forest, by the way, at number 17. To me, They just, they haven't beat anybody. They haven't even beat some of the premier ACC teams yet. So they will easily move up with an undefeated record if they can finish out the same way that they started. So, a long way to go on that. And but that's what I got right now. As far as the big games this week, I guess, as I said, I'll take Arkansas over Mississippi State, 31-24. And what some would consider somewhat of an upset, but Arkansas, to me, they had the 3-game stretch where they looked horrible and lost 3 straight, and they've been kind of quiet and flight under the radar. I like the Hogs to rise up again this week, taking down Mississippi State at home. Purdue, how about the upset? I just said Michigan State. I don't know how long it'll last. I'm going to take Purdue against Michigan State at home. They've already beaten Iowa this year, earlier in the year, and 5-3 team, but kind of a sneaky good team. I'll take Purdue 31-28, and I think some people will consider Auburn beating Texas A&M an upset. I think this is Bo Nix's time. He had the tough struggle against Georgia. But since then, you look at the Ole Miss game, he performed well. I'm going to take Auburn in a huge road win against Texas A&M this week, 24-21. That's where we are. Not a tremendous week coming up, but there are some tremendous weeks down the stretch. We're going to see how this thing unfolds. One thing's for sure, the top 4 now won't be the top 4 at the end, I don't think. And so, long way to go. And hopefully Florida can bounce back this week. And we'll talk next week, and we'll see where we are then. Take care.